Processes and Systems, Chapter 7. When we look at processes and systems in our diverse marketplace, our diverse businesses, we really need to understand kind of the framework around them. So the discussion will really center around information governance, business process management, critical thinking, the fact gathering aspect of this, and last but not least, something we call Kaizen. So let's get right into that. When we look into defining a process, an example that I'll give in this particular slide is the process of going to school. And in that process, a student or person attends classes, and then once they attend classes, there are studies that are done, and they complete their homework or assignments. They then, at that point, acquire a certain level of knowledge, which is assessed. This is a simplified example of what a process might look like. Whereas when we're defining a system, and we'll stay with the successful student framework here. A system is something where you might have as a centralized focus that successful student. There is a quality subject matter content that's available for that student as part of the system. The administration supports the entire organization and that content. There's a physical, emotional, and spiritual health that's necessary in order for that system to thrive. Personal commitment to learning is a key element and objective within this. Transportation for the student to be able to have access to everything that is presented to them in this system. Student learning tools are necessary so that we can optimize the learning experience. Teaching tools for those who are instructors also are necessary so we continue to improve upon what we're doing and make the system better. Functional facilities, everything from the cleanliness of facilities to the technological availability of advancements in equipment and processes are necessary in order to make sure that the student continues to be successful. And then last but not least, there's a healthy school nutrition that we can take a piece of. You have to look at health today, not only from the health of an organization, but from the actual physical health of individuals in the organization to help support students and the students' physical health as well. So this gives us an example of a system. So you start to see the difference between processes and systems, but we also want you to look at how it's necessary to have processes and systems working in concert with one another. From here, we look at information and governance, and we have roles within information and governance by all means. Specific behaviors and tasks that fill out a position in the organization. There are defined responsibilities. Processes, which we've kind of alluded to earlier, part of the constructive fabric of information management, stringing together activities to meet goals. Controls have to be in place so that your systems and your processes can function correctly. So these are positive relationships. You're managing conflict, and then you have to be able to measure through metrics what you do. So it's a comparison of actual output to the goal attainment to figure out whether or not it actually worked. Business process management then, or BPM as we call it, is really a matter of definition. So there are models for success, there are areas of development and resource needs and expectations. There's implementation, which we've talked about in previous chapters. These are the resources designed to exceed customer satisfaction, approach, analyze, design, and support the workflow itself. We've got to be able to manage the business and its processes. So this development and exchange of communication in our resources to create successful workflows is important. And then refine the work that we do. And here we're talking about assess the outcomes and retool if we need to. Look at communicating success to really encourage critical assessment moving forward. So we're always looking to build this BPM that allows us to be better the next time we go through this process. When we look next at critical thinking and its process, really it's all about approach And in approach, we're really looking at whether things or individuals are open-minded. Is there a predictability to the sequence, but the content is then somewhat unpredictable? Creating a path, making sure that the test has conclusions, we incorporate all thought, and then we provide opportunity for all those involved. We want to be able to consistently evolve our approach. So in critical thinking, it's about being open and having a broader perspective about what we're going to do, and then narrow that perspective later on to have that intelligent conversation. On the other side of that equation, if we're able to do that and have a successful approach, or how we approach things from a critical thinking standpoint, the results can be extremely beneficial. We mitigate bias. We cultivate this pattern of logic, which is extremely important. We reassess the outcomes over and over if necessary. We expose any assumptions that are made, and we challenge resolutions in a way that really makes it inclusive in our communication and how we structure that communication with those in the organization. We're constantly looking for improvement as a result in our critical thinking process. So this is a unique slide when we talk about fact gathering for decisions that we make. And so we're trying to identify challenges. We get a statement of need. There's a need analysis done. There's a query in the solution decision-making process, and then solutions are considered to ultimately give us a decision. So what's an example? The example that we've given here, it really centers around office space. So let's say, for example, someone has outgrown their office space, which is the identifying of the challenge. There's a statement of need. In this case, there's a need for more office space. Then there's a need analysis, looking at implementing fact gathering. And then there's a query into the solution on a decision process. So this is where we ask questions, how do we currently use the space? What changes do we need in the use of the space? How is the space going to operate when it's available? What are the costs? What are the risks? What are the tools and resources? Where's the maintenance? And then the solutions considered, the requirements to implement, how are we going to get more space or change the space we have to make it more efficient and productive? Ultimately rendering a decision by fact gathering. Last but not least is Kaizen. And so Kaizen, in simplified terms, is a change for the better that is constant improvement. So I'm changing to make sure I'm getting better. It's fact-finding through personal experience first. So for leaders, it's the ability to go through the personal experience versus just having some concept of what is transpiring in the organization. And the 5 S's. Seri, which is organization first, Siton, which is orderliness for the organization, Seiso, which is cleanliness, Setketsu, which is the standards that are set, and Shitsuki, which is the discipline that the organization must have. How do we summarize Kaizen? Small steps in change for the better that is part of constant improvement. So here are some definitions that might be beneficial for you from this processes and systems perspective. Information governance, business concept to identify, define, and manage the integrated business environment. Fact gathering, which is a function of being able to pull together facts and important pieces of information to make sure that we can use them in a way that is beneficial for the overall organization. Critical thinking, the intellectually disciplined process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, analyzing, applying, and synthesizing information that's been gathered. Business process management really is a common term for BPM to define a systematic approach to managing our decisions and our workflow. And then Kaizen. Kaizen, taking those small steps, a commitment to daily implementation of incremental improvements or betterment. So what did we learn? Systems and processes, although different, work in concert with one another. And we need to learn how to be able to govern our information, put a structure around our business process management, use our critical thinking skills and fact gathering skills to make ourselves better with incremental steps over time. Here's your thought for the day. Stay motivated.